Welcome to the Dental Decoders podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Rogars, and I'm here to help you crack the code on all things dental operations. Each week, we dive into topics to help you overcome roadblocks, streamline operations, and reduce team burnout. Whether you're an owner, a practice manager, or a team member, this podcast is for you. Join us for insightful discussions, engaging interviews, and practical tips. So sit back and relax as we crack the code on all things dental operations together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Dental Decoders podcast. I'm super excited because I have my guest co-host Rebecca with us today, and we also have Katrina with us today. We're going to have a stinking amazing episode for all of you guys.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be part of this. The energy with so far has already been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to be here and talk about all kinds of fun things.
Thanks for joining us. So for our listeners who maybe don't know who you are yet, can you give us a little bit of background on who you are and what you do?
So I am a registered dental hygienist. I've been practicing hygiene for nearly 18 years now. I have been in the dental field for almost 28 years. So that means I started when I was 4, wink, wink. Not really though, but I have always done dental. I love dental. I'm a nerd. I probably clock like at least 100 hours or more of CE every year because I'm just such a junkie. It's so bad. I am also a certified ergonomics assessment specialist. So I don't just look at people in the teeth and gums. I also look at them in their posture, which is another problem that I have. And everybody in the crowd sits up tall. And then on top of that, I'm a certified personal trainer and bodybuilder. So there's all of the biomechanics and the musculoskeletal system that is incredibly fascinating to me, health and wellness. It all ties together, right? And it's really what keeps us going in this field, wanting to be able to practice as long as we want to, not be forced into disability. Kind of what's happened in my little 20-second backstory is that here I was just being, Heidi hygienist in her operatory by herself, being kind of lonely, liking some stuff, but not really getting involved. There was a brand new baby hygienist that was in practice for like 2 years and really, really hurting, going to the chiropractor twice a week, not getting any resolve, feeling like she wasn't going to be able to practice for another couple of years. What am I going to do, Katrina? And I took a look at her, gave her some advice in the operatory, took her to the gym, worked with her for 6 or 8 weeks. And she said, I can work as long as I want to, and you have to share this. So here I am sharing it. And, I've been in business, and my company is Ergo Fit Life. It's ergonomics and fitness. It is truly a lifestyle. And I'm out here just trying to help us. I'm trying to help us feel better at work. I'm helping us to sit up straight and be able to use our bodies in a way that doesn't exhaust us. So that we don't have to talk ourselves into Monday. And then we don't have to whine and Advil on Wednesday to get into Thursday. And it's funny because it's true, right? I don't want us to have to do that. If we are constantly in pain and exhausted, how much can we really be the hygienist or the dentist or the assistant that we deserve to be? We deserve to be our best. And I want us to be able to have that potential. And here I am doing the thing. So I do the thing. There you are.
That's amazing.
Love it. I will say you are really good at what you do. Yes. We met a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago at RDH Under One Roof, and you were at one of the booths that had, the ergo chairs, the saddle seats for, hygienists, since this was a hygienist event. And I was just in awe listening to you talk to the hygienists that were sitting there trying out these chairs, and you went around to every single one of them because every single one of them were sitting in them the wrong way.
Yeah.
They had no idea how they're supposed to sit in this chair. And honestly, I didn't either. But I love them because they're super comfortable to sit in. But then when you were explaining it, and of course I had to fix my own chair because I wasn't doing it right either. And you had them fixing the chairs, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I love this even more. Yeah. And I think half of them went and bought chairs.
Yeah.
And even though I'm sure most of our listeners aren't hygienists, right? All of us sit all day at work, whether we're the dentist, the hygienist, most of the time the assistants, front desk, we all sit most of the day. My first question, I think, and I'm sure most of our listeners are thinking the same thing, what can we do, right? Because most of our jobs require us to sit. what is one thing that's the most important that we can do to help ourselves not atrophy is the word I think of all the time. I kind of feel like I'm kind of shrinking when I'm sitting at work, not atrophy in our jobs.
Gosh, I mean, it's such a loaded question. I would say, taking care of the vessel that takes care of other people is huge. We all know that if you don't get the oil changed in your car, it's going to die sooner, right? And so similarly, the human body has kind of a lithium battery per se. If you abuse it, it's not going to work. So we have to take care of ourselves. And we know that after the age of 30, our muscle mass in our body starts to decrease significantly. So, if you're losing 1% of your muscle mass or up to 10% of your muscle mass every 10 years, the musculoskeletal system isn't just about bones. It's also about the muscle, and muscle is a longevity organ. They're discovering now that the more muscle you have, you're actually higher correlated with having a longer lifespan, and not just lifespan, but health span. So what does the quality of those years look like for you? So I would say you need to exercise, strength train. And I say that knowing that that is the biggest time investment that you're going to make. Okay. We all know this. Like, we all know we need to, eat right, and we need to exercise, and we need to get our steps in, all the things, right? It's like on our to-do list, but where in that to-do list does it sit? So I would say, even if you exercise at home, doing some resistance training is going to be different than cardiovascular exercise, like exercising on a treadmill or doing a HIIT workout or something like that. It's also going to be different than yoga. Yoga doesn't build muscle in any capacity unless you're doing like acrobatic inverted yoga. Okay. Yoga's fabulous. And I love yoga, and we should be doing it because we are chronically, like you're talking about, we're hunched over and our bodies are in these weird, awkward positions. We should be stretching and lengthening out our muscles again, kind of getting that lengthening and that stretch out. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. And so I would say, biggest and most importantly, look at ergonomics and wellness like a charcuterie board. You need to take a little bit of everything. You need to exercise, strength train a little bit, yoga a little bit, buy the right ergonomic equipment. If you're not using ergo loops, you're missing out on something that is 48% more impactful than any other item that you can buy. Literally,
Wow.
they're that much of a difference. A saddle stool, 27% more impactful than almost anything you can buy. Like, big things like that. Making sure that you're practicing correctly with the patient in the chair. That incorporates ergonomic training. In school, hate to say it, we're learning our craft. We're learning how to hold a drill, or we're learning how to, hold a scaler, and we just want to get the calculus off. We need to know how to pass the board so we can get our license, please, because I just invested $100,000 in this degree, right? Mm-hmm. So, or if you're a dentist, $500,000. Oh my gosh. So if I can't prep a crown, it doesn't matter how my body feels, right? And that's our mentality going into it. And then we're 5 years into practice and we're just exhausted. What am I supposed to do now? And I'm going to tell you, get some ergonomic training, because the ROI for ergonomic training is found in every single procedure code that you bill. Mm-hmm. It's not reimbursable by Delta. It's just not going to be, right? You're not going to get your $42 back, Susan. I'm just saying, like, you're going to get so much more because, if you're working using ergonomic practices, whether it's stretching between patients or with the actual ergonomic strategies of how to place your arm and their head and the patient chair and how you're sitting in your chair, if you're using your chair correctly, that's where you get the ergonomic training to teach you how to use the equipment that, by the way, is the most financial investment that you're going to have, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a time investment, there's a financial investment, and then you have like the mental investment. And the biggest mental investment that you're going to make is saying, okay, I'm going to be mindful of my positioning. And when I find myself chicken winging like a giraffe, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to reposition myself, and I'm going to do it right. I'm going to use my indirect vision. I'm going to figure out how to get in there and see this tooth. Or if I'm sitting at a desk, and by the way, I started off in dentistry at the front desk. Those folks have problems too, okay? They have their own pain. And so, being mindful of how you are working is the most mental investment that you're going to make. And then you have the other things like the emotional investment when you are fatigued and you're tired at the end of the night and you say, I don't want to go work out. That's emotional. I'm exhausted. I just had somebody tell me that I wasn't making production goals again. Like, I'm defeated, right? Like, I didn't do the thing. Or I had a patient complain about me because I was too aggressive in my periodontal recommendations. Whatever the thing is that beats us down during the day, that takes a toll on us. And we still have to go after work and go to the gym or go do our stretches or do our yoga classes or whatever the thing is. So there's an investment we have to make in order to get that return, in order to have that career, because ultimately we sign up for a job where we want to be a really great giver, a healthcare provider that advocates for our patients that don't have the education to advocate for themselves. Who does that? If we're too tired, I'm just going to throw this out there and you're going to laugh. So just be prepared. What happens when your 4 o'clock patient shows up and you're exhausted? Do you kind of resent them a little bit for showing up at all? You're like, dang, I wanted to go home early, or God forbid they show up 10 minutes late and they've got a toothache. Now, if you're not exhausted, you're not in pain, you're not like mentally whooped from your day, it's not such a hard pill to swallow. But when all of that stuff is on your body and your back is aching and your neck is killing you because you haven't invested in the ergo loops, for Pete's sake, like, no, doctor, I do not want to do another PA at the end of the appointment. It's the struggle, right? It's the struggle. And the doctor's like, oh, I don't want to have to tell them to get another PA. It's not just one-sided. And so we want to be the best that we can be. And in order to deliver that kind of care, who do we have to take care of first? So I'm going to say, to answer your question, invest in yourself. That's the number one thing you can do. Invest in yourself, financially, mentally, in your time, and emotionally. It's a big ask. I know.
It's really not a lot,
right?
Not a lot.
On paper, it doesn't seem like that much, but it is a big thing. But it also, like, the amount that you invest now, like you were saying, the ROI in that is just like your body doesn't hurt in 5 years to where you can't do it anymore. So I think that's a holistic way to kind of look at that. And are you spending a few minutes now, a few hours now to be able to improve the quality of life that you're going to have for the rest of your life?
Right.
Well, that kind of speaks for itself, right?
Well, too, when you think about, okay, so you've got your tangible ROI, right? Which is your money. And you've got your non-tangible ROI, which is going to be your pain. So you were just talking about the pain. You don't have to go into real estate later or try to figure out what cryptocurrency is when your hygiene license is no longer good, right? You're like, okay, what else can I do with my life? Oh, I'm going to become a coach. And so you don't have to do these things because you can still do the thing that you love. So that's the intangible. But what about the tangible? What about the financial part? Like, okay, Katrina, but money. Okay, I'm trying not to work 6 days a week because you told me not to. But if you want me to buy the saddle stool and you want me to buy the ergo loops, I need to make the money, right? So what happens if you do 2 temp days, or you do an extra procedure, or you do, whatever, you do an amazing marketing campaign where you sponsor a family in your practice and they refer all their friends, and all of a sudden you're making more money. Or you, I don't know, drop the evil insurance companies that are making you work 14 times harder than you have to. Sorry, Mike, drop. What happens with the financial investment? We have to have the financial investment. The loops are going to cost you, $2,000 is $2,000. What are you going to do with that? Well, how much money are you spending for chiropractic therapy? How much money are you spending on massages every month? How much money are you spending on your acupuncturist? And what about the psychologist or the mental health therapist that you need to employ because you are in pain and can't stand your work anymore? Like, it is mind-boggling what people will pay for super green foods in a pill form, but won't go to the grocery store and buy them at the produce aisle. And it's no different with, okay, look, I need to get an ergonomics assessment. I know my posture is crap. Okay. But I don't want to spend the money for the ergonomic assessment in order to not spend money with the chiropractor, because we're thinking in treatment modality, right? What do we do with our patients? If you're a doctor, you think in treatment mode. Okay, this is how I solve the problem. The problem is here. As a hygienist, we're supposed to be prevention specialists. Think about it on a prevention mode, right? Like, how do I prevent this from happening in the first place? So that's why I find a lot of hygienists are a little bit easier to jump on board with the prevention method, with the exercising and with the yoga and the foam rolling and doing some of those things. But then you start talking money and it's like, oh, but, I don't have the money. Go work a couple temp days or do the thing. I'm not saying sign up for an extra day permanently and now you're working 5 or 6 days a week. I'm saying do a little, have a yard sale, whatever you got to do, but like make a little extra to pay for that prevention method, right? Just like we tell our patients, you don't want to get cavities, pay for the fluoride. I know that Delta doesn't cover it for you, but I'm making Delta out to be the awful people. They're all awful. So I don't hate one insurance company. I hate them all, but equally. So it's no different than we talk to our patients.
It could be literally as simple as, what if you eliminated your Starbucks run every day?
Absolutely not. I will not be doing that.
I'm not talking to you, Brittany. I'm talking to the listener.
or whatever you have. Like, how many of us have these like crazy subscriptions to these apps that we don't even remember because they hit our credit card and we don't look at our credit card?
Yeah.
I actually did this thing in January every year where I go through my credit cards and my subscriptions to make sure that like, oh, that app that I don't use anymore, that, you know, I just wanted to try it out to see what it was like because it says it's going to be calming at night or whatever the thing is. And it's like, you know, $3 a month or whatever the thing is. How many of those do we have? You know, what if you downgraded your cable subscription because there's 5,000 stations of nothing on television, right? And you just like maybe take a 6-month detox from that and only have Netflix and Amazon Prime or whatever your thing is. You know, like what would that look like? How much money would you save there? And by the way, when you jump back in 6 months, they're going to give you an amazing special to sign back up because they want you back.
Exactly.
Come back to me.
So I wanted to ask you, okay, we've got a listener who's listening. They've decided they're going to cut back on their Starbucks or on their cable. Hopefully the cable, not the Starbucks. We love caffeine. But they want to do an ergo assessment. They want to move into the next phase of this. They're ready to make that commitment. What does that look like?
So when I do an assessment with somebody, I actually go out to the operatory with them in their chair and with their patients and their body. And first, I kind of shadow them initially, see what they're doing. And because I have that lens, I can tell them right away, okay, let's get you sitting properly. So I sit them in their chair correctly. I get the patient position correctly set up so that when the patient's in the chair, they actually have the potential to practice correctly, right? Because half the time we have our patients still sitting almost upright. And then we've got the headrest that does this. We've got it like down on the chest. So like, let's get you set up right. And then the patient comes in the room and then it's, okay, put your arm like this. Oh, you're on this tooth on this. You're on the lingual of 31. Okay, we're going to position you like this, or put their head like that. Put your arm like this, move to this clock position. And so we actually spend time where the doctor doesn't lose production, because we can't afford that, right? We're trying to afford the new saddle stool. We got to make money. So real patients in the chair, we always ask them, do you mind if an ergonomic specialist works with us? I've never, ever had a patient say no, knock on wood. And then we just do the thing that we wished we could have done in clinic when we were learning. And then we talk about it when the patient is gone. And we say, okay, how did that feel? And you have that aha moment, just like you saw when I was at the Crown Seating booth in Denver. There's that moment where you're just sitting right and your lower back stops being tense for a minute. You go, oh, thank God, this feels so good. And you feel hope and you can do this. And that's the moment for me that makes it all just worthwhile. Like the red-eye flights out to North Carolina or wherever from California, it makes it worthwhile because I know this person can practice as long as they want to and give the care they want. So when we're done with that, I write up a full report of everything that I saw, all the things that we did, and then all the recommendations that I would make afterwards on equipment to buy or exercises to do, stretches to incorporate, all that stuff, because obviously, by the way I'm talking, you can tell that a lot goes at them. There's a lot of information that they get. And so when it's all in written form and they can look at it later and say, okay, I'm going to just objectively take on the task of this item. And I'm going to mentally invest in this one item, whether it's putting my chicken wing down or I'm going to position this way or that way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to dedicate myself to that until I've mastered it. And then I'm going to do the next line item. And that way they have a full report of things that they can do. And if they do all of the things, the goal is that they don't need me anymore.
Yeah. I like that the goal is that we can get them, like, obviously as coaches, sometimes the wrong coaches can be financially driven. So then they're not giving you the solutions that they want. But the fact that you said that the goal is to not need me anymore, I think is
Yes.
beautiful and speaks to your
You.
character. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always available. I tell them, like, I'm always here
Mhm.
for you. Once you're my client, you're always my client. We're always going to be besties. But like my goal, even with my personal training clients, so I do posture exercise workout programs with people that want to actually maintain the ability to sit upright. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm in California and people are all over the nation. So it's all virtual. And I tell them it's a 3-month program. And will I do another program with you? Yes. But my goal is to teach you how to exercise so that you don't need me anymore. Like
Mhm.
as a hygienist, I want my patients not to have to come see me every 3 months, right? I
Mhm.
want them to be able to get healthy. And that's how my focus is as an ergonomics specialist, as a personal trainer, as, whoever. Like, I'm always here for you, always help you. I'll give you more. But like, I don't want you to have to need me.
If people are listening to this episode, they're getting so many takeaways. They want to learn more. Where can they find you? How can they work with you?
Well, I'm all over social. So, Ergo Fit Life. If you look up Ergo Fit Life on Facebook, I have a group, I have a page. You can friend me. My name is Katrina Klein. I'm totally and completely transparent on social media. Buyer beware. On Instagram, come hang out with me. It's ergofitlife_Katrina. I have an email address. Imagine this, ergofitlife@gmail.com. I have a website, even more shocking, ergofitlife.com. So like if you look me up, you're just or look up Ergo Fit Life, you'll find me. I'm always here. I cannot tell you how many questions I field about, hey, I saw this device. What are your thoughts on it? Like, I'm not going to charge you to answer questions about things. Like, this is what I'm here for. So yeah, if they want to reach out, I'm here.
And I will put everything in the show notes as well. So anybody who wants to reach out to you has the opportunity to do that very easily. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I know I feel like I just went blah, blah, blah the whole time.
That's exactly what this is
That's
for. So you
yeah,
understood the
yeah.
assignment.
Good. I was listening and I was taking everything you were saying in, so that's great. I feel like you've already done this for our listeners, but as you know, at the end of our podcast, we'd love to ask our podcast guests what is a decoding moment in your life where you can share that moment with our listeners. You've given us a bazillion already, but what was a decoding moment for you that either pushed you into dentistry or was an aha moment for yourself that you can share with our listeners today?
Ooh, so well, I'll tell you why I wanted to become a hygienist. So I had a baby fairly early in life, and she was probably 4 or 5. And I thought I burned her with food because she got a bubble above E or F. I don't remember. It's been 30 years. So she had a bubble, and I thought, oh my gosh, I burned her. So the bubble popped and no pain. And we brushed her teeth every night. I had no idea that you needed to floss baby teeth. Guys, I was like 20, okay? I didn't know. I mean, I flossed my teeth, but like nobody told me at any point, like, you need to floss her teeth. So this poor child ate lukewarm food for a month. I'm not kidding. Before, what do you know? The bubble came back. And so I called the doctor, and the doctor said, take her to a dentist. And I was like, they have dentists for kids? I didn't know. Again, I mean, okay, I was actually 19. Okay, I was 19. So I took her to the dentist, and she had an abscess. And I was devastated. I felt this big. I felt like the worst mother in the world. They told me, okay, the hygienist was like, you need to floss your teeth. This is how you do it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nobody should have to feel like this. People need to know. Like, people need to know how you should take care of baby teeth just like adult teeth. Who knows? And so that was the moment I decided I wanted to be a hygienist. I've come to find out since then, I worked in a pediatric office. And while I really, really I adore tiny humans, the guardians of said tiny humans are not always as focused on their health as I would like for them to be. And my face is too transparent for that. So I went into general practice where I am much better at keeping my face to my face. So there you are. There's my decoding moment. I decided I wanted to become a hygienist because of baby teeth.
I will say my kids are 6 and 7, and they have come a long way in educating parents on dental care. Obviously, working in the dental industry is a help, but their general doctor asks us every single visit, how often do they floss? Do they brush? Do they use mouthwash? So they've come a long way.
I love that. I
They
love
probably
that.
share their favorite like products too, brand names.
They
right?
do. Mm-hmm.
They've
Yeah.
tried all the
9 out
this
of 10 dentists recommend. This has been such a wonderful conversation, Katrina. I really thank you so much for taking some time and sharing all your gems with our listeners. I know that it's going to be valued so much. So just thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. Yes, back at you, honey. And I can't wait to see you girls on the road. I know we'll be at a dental convention again together soon. Maybe we'll even get you out to California at ADHA next year, you know, in Long Beach. You never know.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Okay. I like
All right.
it.
It's a date.
Sounds good. Woohoo!
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Dental Decoders podcast. We hope you took away a valuable piece of information. As always, don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe to help us build our community of dental decoders. We look forward to seeing you for next week's episode.